the zoomed in view of where this is hitting right now in Louisville here, because again, we've got 700,000 folks within the Louisville metro, 1.2 million in the surrounding area, including the metro area here, and we want to make sure that we're serving you the best way we can. Take your tornado precautions right now, even though this is quote unquote just a severe thunderstorm warning. This is about one of the craziest severe thunderstorm warnings we will see in the metro for quite some time, most likely here, the way that we've been seeing it on our SkyTrack and tower camera here. Very high winds now moving toward Bon Air, Seneca High School. We have per hour wind potential in Germantown right now, 80+ mile per hour wind potential in St. Matthews. Wherever you see these brightly colored, almost yellow splotches right here, this is where we're seeing those major problems. And boy, downtown Louisville getting battered. We can hear it here at the station with these winds now moving through. In fact, I'll be able to query some of these pixels here and show you exactly what's going on. This just in, 62 mile per hour wind gust officially at the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. We have that always on wind gust speed here on our radar, and that came in handy today. That is for certain. Let's query downtown Louisville right now. 72 mile per hour wind speed. This is not too far off the ground. This may not be making it all the way to the ground. Again, we've had ground truth of 62 miles per hour here in Louisville and 58 miles per hour in Breckinridge County about half hour, 45 minutes ago. So we haven't had ground truth of 70 to 80 mile per hour winds yet. However, they are literally flying just above our heads right now, and it doesn't take much to get those winds to come down to the surface and cause just a whole lot of damage here. Let's see. John Gordon at the National Weather Service said we went 80 miles per hour for the severe thunderstorm warnings that we're seeing right now. 70, 80 mile per hour is close to the ground. That's exactly what we were just talking about here with these storms currently moving through the Louisville metro area. I'm going to zoom a little closer down to like Fern Creek, J-Town, if I can here. Oh, that's the lightning count. Let's kind of reset if we can. So if you're just joining us here on television or on Wave Weather Now, our 24/7 local weather live stream here, destructive thunderstorms moving through right now. While there's not a tornado warning in effect, we have to act like there is, because these winds are packing potentially up to 80 mile per hour gusts in them. The storms are. These are now moving through the eastern part of Jefferson County. They are booking it right now. In fact, the speed on these has been pretty high as well, so probably at least 50, 60 mile per hour speeds. These are moving probably almost at interstate speeds. I'm going to put the velocity on here and kind of zoom into that. We'll put this full here. So we'll take the base velocity, pop that on the screen, and then be able to zoom in on where the worst winds are. I don't want to forget about our friends and neighbors just south of Louisville. You guys are getting hammered by this as well. So let's go into Bardstown first here. Let's see here. 65 mile per hour wind gust reported in Mount Washington and Bullitt County. That is no surprise given what we're seeing here on the radar. Loretto, areas east of Bardstown and in Bardstown proper, you guys are getting hit right now. Areas near Cox's Creek, you need to be on standby in your tornado safe place for 70 to 80 mile per hour destructive straight line winds. Again, I know this is confusing. This is not a tornado, but this is straight line winds that are causing the problems today. And our policy is if there is destructive weather moving through the Louisville metro area, we're going to stay with you wall to wall. And of course, we don't want to forget about our friends and neighbors in Washington County, Marion County, Nelson, and into parts of Spencer County, Taylorsville. You guys are right on the top of the screen there, but you are seeing that 70 to 80 mile per hour wind potential. Let's go straight to Tawana. Andrew has the latest.
Yeah, we were just talking about the strong winds as they were moving through the metro, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts. And thank you to those of you on social media who've been sending in your reports, including Stephanie Dawson, who just sent in pictures of large tree branches down near Churchill Down. So this wave of storms is moving through with these strong winds. And this is why you have to keep everything in mind, including these severe thunderstorm warnings as what we're seeing right now in parts of the metro. So starting to see some damage reports coming in Louisville as well, Ryan.
Yeah, so those damage reports are going to be fast and furious because we've had at least a 62 mile per hour gust confirmed here inside of Louisville. These storms arc all the way down to the Tennessee border. For those folks who are trying to figure out, is this going to last all day? You'll note that the end of the storms is now hitting Carbondale, Illinois. So this is going to last for a couple more hours here with this first round of storms. Thankfully, the severe part is moving so quickly. It will be out of the metro here shortly, but we need to hunker down and be ready for this. Here's the big board. You can see 3 severe thunderstorm warnings until 12:30 that we are tracking at this point. All of these are destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. Treat them like tornado warnings. The tornado watch that you've likely been seeing at the bottom of your screen here goes until 4 o'clock Eastern time here and that's for areas along and south of I-64, most of our Kentucky counties here. Let's show you the Jeffersonville SkyTrack camera. That is the Louisville skyline that you see on the bottom side of your screen. Downtown Louisville is now behind the worst of the winds at this point. But it's going to be the eastern part of Jefferson County that's now seeing this. Wow, there we go. There's the power outage map. And boy, oh boy, we thought it was going to light up, and it has. 5,700 customers, about 10% of tracked customers. And there's 55,000 of those. That's not people, that's customers. Now without power in E-Town, Brandenburg, near Meade County here, 1,400 customers without power. If you're in Bullock County right now, looks like those areas have a little closer to a 5% outage, 2,000 customers without power. And then finally, we'll get down to LaRue County, where about 2% of folks are without power at this point. Okay, let's back up here, back to the radar, because that's the most important thing to see at this point here, just to show you exactly where these storms are, where they are most destructive. Prospect, Crestwood, Middletown, tornado safe place right now. Even though this is not a tornado, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds moving in at interstate speeds. So they are moving very, very quickly into your direction here. They'd probably get a ticket if they were moving this fast on the interstate here. That is how quickly this is going to not only impact you in eastern Jefferson County, but also get away from you as well. Hello, Sellersburg. Hello, Jeffersonville. Hello, the eastern suburbs of New Albany into Clarksville. You guys need to be hunkered down. Goshen, Crestwood, Skylight, LaGrange need to be in your safe place right now. 70 to 80 mile per hour wind potential now moving through. I'll move the radar around. We'll go to the north a bit so that we can serve our friends and neighbors in southern Indiana a little bit better. Charlestown, Henryville, Vesta, New Washington. You need to be in your safe place. The 70 to 80 mile per hour potential winds now moving through. Again, the ground truth that we've had so far is a 62 mile per hour gust at the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. We've had reports of power outages all over central Kentucky. We've had some damage, of course, in the Louisville area already near Churchill Downs. Of course, Oldham County is going to be next in line to see this. I'm going to put the velocity on here, and basically that just shows us the wind speeds. And that's really important because wherever you see these brighter shades on these colors here, you see them here from Prospect to Linden to J-Town. This is going to be where wind damage is a possibility. It's this section right here that we're most concerned about at this point. I'm going to zoom the radar around so that we can show you where best these reports, or I should say these higher wind speeds are, and that's just west of Middletown. It's near Linden, St. Matthews, Prospect. We'll zoom in a little bit more, too, so we can give you more of a granular sense of what neighborhoods are being impacted by the strongest of the winds here. And boom, there we go. Tom Sawyer Park, Douglas Hills, be in your safe place right now. That's going to be away from doors and windows. That's going to be, in a basement if you have it. That's a good idea at this point, just because of just how strong these winds are moving through. Glenview Hills, Prospect, areas a little closer to Utica, Indiana, right there on the river near the Lewis and Clark Bridge. If you're in Jeffersonville, just in the eastern part of Jeffersonville, this is still hitting you at this point. We're likely incurring quite a few power outages from this as this continues to move through the very northeastern part of Jefferson County. Hello, J-Town and Fisherville. You guys have some strong winds, but it's not quite as bad as it would be otherwise here to your north, where they're getting really hit at this point. If you're near Springhurst, if you're near the, of course, the paddock shops, you need to be inside, away from doors and windows. We've been telling folks to treat this like a tornado warning because these 70 to 80 mile per hour damaging winds here have a lot of potential to do some damage that's not unlike an EF0 tornado. So we want to kind of treat it as that. Again, the ground truth so far has been a 62 mile per hour gust. And of course, we've had reports of 60 plus mile per hour gusts down near Mount Washington as well. Let's zoom the radar around here, show you where some of the worst of the winds are at this time. Again, this is wind velocity I'm showing you here. The brighter colors are faster wind speeds. Taylorsville, be in your safe place right now. Very destructive winds now moving through central parts of, looks like Spencer County there. If we could put up that 4-box again, it looks like Tawana Andrew has the camera kind of set back up for Gazebo Fest.
Yes, managed to get that back up. The power did look like it went down on that for a little bit. I'm not seeing, thankfully, any damage with it. That's good. Which is certainly some good news, but that camera is still shaking like crazy. Getting some more reports of some trees down off Hillview Boulevard, as well. So getting some more of these damage reports in from, of course, these 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts that we've seen moving through the Louisville metro. So thank you to everyone who's been sending these in to us this morning or this afternoon. I'm still in Sunrise. So the tree report from near Churchill Downs. So that's near Larchmont. That's where they saw the trees, the large branches being broken apart quite easily in that area. So that's just one of the many reports of damage that we are already getting in so far today. And of course, the power outages, that's been the other story. But the strong wind gusts, these are going to continue to march to the east. And I just want to remind everybody, this is just the first batch of storms moving through, because once this rolls in, we have to keep an eye on that evening and overnight severe threat, Ryan. That's something else that we're going to be watching for later on today.
Yeah, and of course, we've been, getting reports into our newsroom as well. Got trees down in the 900 block of Old 6 Mile Lane. That's a little closer to like Hikes Point and J-Town. That was kind of south of where the worst of the winds in the metro were, and they've still got damage. So it shows you that you don't need to be in the maximum wind area of this to see the worst of the damage. Power flickering in Springhurst area, winds still going pretty crazy in Northeast Jefferson County from one of our producers up that way. So let's triage what's going on. These storms are moving super quick, all right? Because when we came on the air just a few minutes ago, the storms were right here. They are now several miles well to the east, now tens of miles to the east, now moving into parts of Oldham County, eastern parts of Clark County, Henry, Trimble. You folks all under a severe thunderstorm warning at this point here. Let's zoom in on some of this here. In fact, I can do so a little bit easier this way. We'll be able to pan over and then query these warnings and show you what the latest is as they continue to update these warnings. When you see a warning that's flashing on the screen, like this one right here for parts of Clark into Trimble, Henry, and Oldham counties, we see that flashing. That means the National Weather Service has updated some aspect of that warning, either changing some of the parameters or, of course, cutting off parts of the warning that are no longer needed, which is pretty common. And you'll see that that is a 70-mile-per-hour severe thunderstorm warning that includes 173,000 people. Considerable damage with that 70-mile-per-hour wind gust potential. Now moving into parts of eastern Clark County near New Washington and Vesta. And, of course, we have that second severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be the southern part of East Jefferson County at this time. And that arcs all the way down toward Lebanon, Springfield, and just north of Campbellsville. I'll be able to query that pretty well here once we get down there. Okay, so you see that if you're in Washington County, Willisburg, Springfield, even if you're in Taylorsville, again, treat this like it's a tornado warning, just out of an abundance of caution, even though there is no tornado and no tornado warning. With a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust potential, we want folks to be safe. We have had some reports of trees coming down. We've had numerous power outages. This is going to be a pretty bad day for power outages if this is just round one and we're doing this, all right? That's going to be a problem for us here. Let's query this severe thunderstorm warning, see what the latest is from the National Weather Service here in Louisville. And there we go. Okay, so again, considerable damage, 70-mile-per-hour winds on that. They haven't changed that designation. Almost 200,000 people in that severe thunderstorm warning. So many folks being impacted. That's why we are on the air to protect life and property here in Wave Country with so many 70-mile-per-hour wind, kind of designations on these storms moving through. Again, we have not actually seen the ground truth of 70-mile-per-hour winds, but what we have seen is 65 miles per hour in Mount Washington and 62 miles per hour at the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport here. So we're getting awfully close to that designation, and at any minute we could get a report that that is happening, I should say, here. So let's zoom this on over here to Oldham County. We'll give you folks a heads up. There's Greenhaven, LaGrange, Pendleton there in parts of, looks like Henry County now getting in on this. US 421, you guys are under the severe thunderstorm warning. If you're in Shelbyville, stand by. It's getting ready to get pretty real right there with the winds. Simpsonville, you guys are getting hit by these winds right now. Crestwood, same story. Goshen, Skylight. We continue to see those damaging wind potentials moving in toward that neck of the woods down that way. Tawana Andrew continues to monitor a number of sources, including our SkyTrack cameras, reports coming in on social media, and of course from the National Weather Service. What's going on over there?
And what we're keeping an eye on, of course, everything happening. You just mentioned Simpsonville, so I'm trying to get that camera shot up for us so we can see what's going on. But thankfully, no significant damage showing up at the stage at Gazebo Fest. Getting more reports, of course, I mentioned the damage off of Hillview. Many of you, thank you, on social media sending in all of that information. We're seeing tree limbs down and one apparently on a car in Greensburg, power out in portions of St. Matthew. So this is what it looks like right now in Simpsonville as that rain is pouring down. My in-laws, I know you're probably getting out of church right now. If you're heading out and heading home to go to that cookout, I need y'all to hold off before you head over there, please. We're watching power going in and out in the Middletown area. Large trees apparently down in the Middletown area with trampolines blowing around and some siding issues in the Middletown area. So working on getting a little bit more information on that. Power out in portions of Fern Creek, and there's no power right now in PRP on Cane Run Road. So we're starting to see, as we've been talking about, more and more of the damage reports coming in with these severe thunderstorms that have been pushing through. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on these as they continue to move through. And here's that view again of what we're seeing right now in Simpsonville. You usually can see 64 off into the distance there. You can't even see that right now with the rain that is coming down. So here we go. And now we got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, Ryan, that we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it looks like this one's going to be parts of Franklin County. So our extreme eastern area here is going to be where that's at. There it is. You'll see it's Franklin County and pretty much all of it, 70 mile per hour, considerable damage possible with that at this time. That's what we are seeing now starting to move east of our counties is all of these thunderstorms. I do want to put something that only we can show here at Wave News, and it's these wind reports from MPING, and it's sort of a collaborative effort between the University of Oklahoma and, of course, the National Weather Service here. Citizen weather reports of damage. You can do that on the MPING app, and boy, look at this. Wherever you see these orange markers here, that is where we've got kind of a level 3 out of 5 wind damage, if you will. We're starting to get into the we can snap trees and power poles territory, and that is up a little closer to the Ford truck plant in northeast Jefferson County. We have some not as intense wind damage reports, of course, sort of like tree limbs down from areas closer to the Fair and Expo Center, I should say, over toward Newburgh. And then once again, cluster of these reports, it looks like within the last few minutes from Mount Washington. So no surprise there with Mount Washington's 65 mile per hour wind gust down that way. Let's go down to the south, and that's Willisburg, Springfield, Gravel Switch, Lebanon. You guys need to be in your safe place right now. That's where we're seeing these storms currently moving through. Looks like Grayson County, we've got some damage. A building has been damaged. A camper has been turned over. Dozens of trees down at the Foxbough, Foxbough Drive subdivision in Grayson County. That's about 1.5 miles north of Litchfield. There are photos. I can't show them to you because I'm just looking at them here on a monitor. Looks like certainly one of those little RV tow-behind campers has been turned over, and the trees are certainly down there. So yes, we've had history of damage with these thunderstorms. That is not surprising on a day like this. So much wind energy in the atmosphere. I want to zoom into Louisville and areas northeast of Jefferson County here, give you an update on what's going on down that way here. And let's get you straight up toward a little closer to LaGrange, Oldham County, Trimble County, the western part of Henry County. Hello, Shelbyville. You guys are, as promised, starting to get the damaging wind potential now moving into your neck of the woods here. I'm going to put straight up here the just the base velocity, if you will. That's the wind velocity, wind speeds, just kind of in layman's terms there. There's Charlestown. Charlestown, you guys are getting in on some pretty intense winds at this time. We'll be able to sample what those winds are doing just above the surface there on the radar. This isn't actually what's hitting the ground, thankfully. 65 miles per hour, right close to Charlestown at this point. I'll be able to query pixel by pixel here. Wow, 73 mile per hour wind potential right now. This is near that Charlestown State Park area. This is just across the river from Oldham County here. Let's zoom in on that a little bit more because that is concerning, seeing those pixels light up like that. Looks like we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning that's just coming out, and boom, just like that, we'll be able to show you exactly where that is. And that looks to be northeast of Louisville. Aha, there we go. Madison is in this, Pleasureville, Henry County, Trimble County, Jefferson County, Indiana in this at this point, still with that 70 mile per hour wind damage potential, considerable damage threat with these storms moving through. These storms have taken down power lines. They have knocked out power for thousands of folks across wave country here. And of course, you know, they have taken down trees. There has been some property damage. We've seen the damage from Meade County, Hardin County, Grayson County. Here in Louisville, closer to Churchill Downs, of course, we've had some trees down reported in other parts of the metro as well. So these are doing the damage, even if they're not getting up to that 70 mile per hour designation by ground truth. We're close enough, right? These are destructive thunderstorms. You need to treat them almost like if there's a tornado warning. So that's why if you are in Henry County at this point, if you're in Trimble, this is a good time to be in your tornado safe place, because these 70 plus mile per hour winds can act like a weak tornado and do the same same kind of destruction. We've already seen that happen. Carroll County, new severe thunderstorm warning there at this point. That is no surprise. That's going to likely go until at least 1 o'clock, the way these storms are moving along US 42 right into the heart of Carroll County at this point. That is in National Weather Service Wilmington, Ohio's forecast area. That's why that warning looks a little weird. There's a good reason for that here. Shelbyville, you guys are getting through some of the worst of the storms at this point. All right, let's go back to the wind here. We were sampling some of these pixels down a little closer to Charlestown, Indiana, where some of the worst of the winds are at this point here. And we can do that storm query here. And look, brand new scan just came in. Lucky me. Here we go. There we go. 70-mile-per-hour winds possible. The very northeastern part of Clark County. This is just north and east of Charlestown at this time. Let's zoom in on that a little bit more. Hello, folks in Clark County. This is destructive wind damage happening right near Hibernia, New Washington, Sunset Village, Otto, Indiana. You're next in line if you are anywhere near Rolling Hill. So basically between New Washington, Sunset Village, and Hibernia, this is the worst of the wind damage potential, with the potential for 70-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts in eastern Clark County. This is going to continue on into very extreme northern Oldham County and into Trimble County as well. This will be north of Greenhaven, though, so the bulk of Oldham County won't see that worst part of the wind damage now moving through eastern parts of Clark County at this time. Looks like we do have power lines down in the Jeffersonville and Clarksville area, getting reports of trees down across the county as well. That's Clark County, Indiana. This is Clark County. This is where that damage is happening right this second. So we will continue to monitor the reports from emergency managers, the National Weather Service, and of course you folks at home via MPing there if you want to send in those reports. Tawana Andrew has been busy with reports, cameras, and more. What do you got over there?
Yeah, so still working to get more information from all of you. So thank you to everyone who's been sending this in. And if we can pull up the pictures that we got in from Thomas from the Hillview area, this looks to be some sort of structure, maybe a tree house or something like that, that was completely thrown off as that tree crumbled in that Hillview area. This is going to be off of Hillview Boulevard. So this is just some of the damage that we're seeing. Also getting reports of several trees down on Shelbyville Road. Working to get more information, a little bit more on what parts of Shelbyville Road. Based on some of the images I've been getting, it looks like it's the Middletown area. So Shelbyville and Blankenbaker, number of trees down come in that particular area, which is big because Southeast just let out of service just a couple of minutes ago. So we have a ton of people who are going to be driving through the tail end of this. So this is incredible seeing the amount of trees that are come down in that area. So anybody may be listening on your phones or you're watching on the Wave Weather app, please make sure you're holding off until these storms pass by your area and then you head out, because this wind can cause some serious damage like we've already seen.
Yeah, Tawana, that's a very populated area there of eastern Jefferson County, right there near Middletown, Douglas Hills, areas a little closer, of course, to Southeast Christian. Boy, that's tough to hear about all the trees down in that area. They got hit hard out that way. So these storms are now tracking into the very northeastern extremity here of wave country. Once these storms exit our viewing area, we'll be able to get off the air. But with the history of what we have seen in the Louisville Metro, in Grayson County, in Hardin, in parts of Meade County, in Clark County, just a big chunk of wave country here. We want to stay on the air to make sure that we are giving you the earliest alert. Frankfort, LaGrange, or I should say just north and east of LaGrange, really, if you're in Henry County, rather, into Trimble County, Jefferson County, Indiana. Treat this like it's a tornado warning, just a big old yellow one instead of red here, just because of the 70-plus mile per hour wind gust potential. Again, you don't have to have 70-mile-per-hour winds to get damage. It's just that kind of amps up the level of coverage and the, of course, the potential for that wind damage there that we could see. Let's zoom on into the areas of concern here. Boy, this is a tough day. It just shows you don't need to have a tornado for there to be widespread destructive damage. Severe thunderstorm warnings can be the real deal as well with these straight line winds. And boy, we are paying witness to that today. All right, Henry County, if you're along 421, Eminence, Newcastle, Pleasureville, make sure you're in your safe place at this point. Carroll County, safe place. Trimble County, safe place. Jefferson County, Indiana, safe place. Scottsburg, Indiana, Scott County, you guys need to be in your safe place as well, as these storms, the worst of them, are now moving through that area at this point here. Let's get you back to where we can see the winds on radar here. And there we are. And you can see where these bright, sort of almost bright yellow or bright white patches embedded within the red here. These are the kind of pockets of wind that are moving through, and the worst of those could produce up to 70-mile-per-hour winds. We'll pan the camera down the radar here, and we'll be able to see that we've got a pretty good batch that's just moved out of Taylorsville, heading toward Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and Anderson County. This is just south of Frankfort here. Shelby County also still getting hit with some pretty decent winds at this time. I'm going to zoom into eastern Clark County one more time. This has had a history of producing damage, trees and power lines down across Clark County at this time because of this particular section of wind that's moving in, and some of it's now in northern parts of Oldham County near the community of Oldham itself here. Wise's Landing, you guys are next to see this auto. This is literally knocking on your door. New Washington, it is too late. It is happening now there, so you guys have some crazy wind in New Washington at this point. Just be away from doors and windows near the center of where you live, center of the house, like the geometric center, if you will. Basement's great too if you are so inclined, just to make it extra safe, just in case, because this is, we're treating this almost as like a junior tornado warning here with how fast these winds are now moving through eastern Clark County, just north of the Ohio River here. You can see those two blue lines indicating the river itself here. Okay, so we've got a new radar scan here, New Washington, Otto, Wise's Landing. You guys next in line for this. I'll pan the view around here so we can see more of what's going on here as this continues to move into Trimble County. Chelsea, Indiana, be in your safe place. It's a good time to do that. You've got a couple minutes before these winds move in. Trout, Kentucky, this is going to be right on the Ohio River here in Trimble County. Be in your safe place. Madison, Milton, it's time. It's time to get in your safe place. These damaging winds, 60-plus miles per hour, potentially 70-plus miles per hour, now moving in your direction. Milton, of course, no stranger to storm damage this season. This has been a really rough, severe weather season for us. Let's hope this is the finale, but we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. I know there's a lot of anxiety surrounding these storms, given what we've been through. Hello, Bedford, Kentucky. You need to be in your safe place right now, as the worst of the winds are now just south and west of you at this time here. 27-mile-per-hour wind gusts at LaGrange. That's not too bad, thankfully. Trees and power lines down. Couple places in Campbellsville, that's Taylor County. We've, of course, heard some damage from Taylor County here over the last little bit. Sligo, Kentucky, Pendleton, you guys need to be in your safe place. You see these brighter little blocks here on the radar indicating where the worst of the winds are. We can actually query those and show you exactly what those winds on radar being detected are at this time. 68 miles per hour, now moving through northeast parts of Oldham County, near the community of Oldham itself, just north and east of Greenhaven, 68 miles per hour there. Let's go to the other side of the river. This is a little closer to like Wise's Landing here, 74 mile per hour pixel there. And as we move up a little closer to Otto, Indiana, that's a 70 mile per hour pixel. So this is like the worst the winds could get, because that's what the winds are in the thunderstorm a couple thousand feet above, and they could channel down to the ground at any minute. So we have to kind of treat this as if these storms will put down these winds here in fairly short order. Okay, I don't want to get too focused in on one area for too long here, because I know we've got a lot of folks here who are wondering what on earth is going on. Why are we on wall to wall right now? We've had several areas that have been hit with destructive thunderstorms early this afternoon here, late this morning. We've had numerous power outages. We've had damage reported from straight line winds from Grayson County to Meade County to Clark County, Indiana. Of course, here in Louisville, we've had several reports of trees down closer to northeast Jefferson County, closer to Churchill Downs. These seem to be equal opportunity storm offenders here. They are hitting a very wide swath, and that's why today is an alert day. We were concerned about this first round of storms trying to amp up more than it could otherwise, and boy, that is what has happened. You'll notice, by the way, south and east of Paducah, another tornado warning. That area is no stranger to that today. Out a little closer to Mayfield. Man, it's been rough in western Kentucky today as well. Once we get this initial line of thunderstorms through our counties here, we'll be able to go off the air and return you to the pre-coverage of the Indy 500, which of course has been delayed officially just because of the storms now moving into Indianapolis. Look at all these lightning strikes affecting the Circle City up that way. My goodness. So that is a good call for them to delay the race like that with all that they've got going on there and so many folks outside. Of course, we've heard about Gazebo Fest delaying until after 1 o'clock. The big board shows us all the severe thunderstorm warnings that we have at this point. These are long severe thunderstorm warnings from a time perspective. Look at this one for Carroll. We still have well over an hour left on this thing. The National Weather Service is drawing these big just to encompass a very large area and, of course, to give folks a very early heads up because of how fast these are traveling. A reminder, there's a tornado watch watch along and south of I-64 through 4 p.m. We may pick up another watch this evening. This is the Simpsonville SkyTrack camera, and you'll see things have calmed down there considerably. Thankfully, the winds on the backside of these storms not so bad. I want to give you an update on the power outages here on our power outage map. We're now up to 6,100 customers. 11% of Hardin County is now without power. That's of tracked customers. I think that's just about everybody, though, with 55,000 dots on the map there that they're able to track. Of course, out near Meade County, 12% without power. That's 1,800 customers, not people, customers. So, multiply that by 2 or 2.5, and that's the number of people experiencing a power outage at this point. Let's go up to parts of Bullitt County. That just updated. Holy cow.
Oh, wow.
10,732 people in Bullitt County. That is over a quarter of Bullitt County without power. That is substantial. My goodness, that just shows you the power of what went through Shepherdsville and Mount Washington. Mount Washington, we had that report of, I believe, 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts there. That's no surprise that it's done a number to the infrastructure there. I don't want to forget about the Louisville Metro. We're now starting to see that tick up as well. 8,100 customers without power. That's about 2% of the Louisville area now without power. So that county there starting to turn yellow. So these power outages, they take some time to come in. But you get the idea. There's a lot of them, and we're going to continue to see more kind of pegged onto the map as we go through time here as these storms depart. And we start to get into the pick up the pieces mode here. Tawana's got new information. What's going on?
Yeah, even my husband is now texting me with pictures of what's happening to the Plainview area.
Yep.
Some large trees down. If you travel through Plainview and J-Town, the massive old trees, those are now down in the area. And even at the Plainview Kroger, everything where you put in all the carts, that has been basically pulled apart like it was just a piece of paper. So that's how strong the winds were coming in, and getting reports of parts of St. Matthews. Shout out to Ronnie. Thank you for sending me these large tree limbs down in that particular area. Also getting word of damage in parts of Meade County, a barn blown away at one farm, and the electric lines are down in those areas as well. So continuing to keep an eye on more than 30,000 people without power in just Jefferson County alone. So a lot of damage coming in right now. And even from my sister-in-law saying that as those storms move through, she was at church as well, and she waited while everybody else drove through the storms, which thankfully don't do that when these storms move through. But thankfully, this is that first wave of storms moving out of our area right now, the strongest part of it, but we'll keep that rain lingering a little bit longer. But it's the wind. That's the part of it that I think caught a lot of people off guard, Ryan, the fact that the winds were so strong. Even though we have that severe thunderstorm warning, I don't think a lot of people took it as seriously as they should have. And now so many people are without power. I'm getting more reports of parts of Shepherdsville without power. The lights flashing a lot in Fern Creek. And we have, of course, all those graduations going on today as well. So for those of you maybe heading to some of those graduations, heading within the next hour, especially in Metro Louisville, you just have that heavy rain to deal with. But thankfully, the strongest winds are now out of the region in terms of Metro anyway, not completely done with all of Wave Country just yet.
We do have a report of some trees down in Vine Grove, Kentucky as well. That just coming in from our friend at the National Weather Service there that lives down that way. A roof peeled out off of an outbuilding, kind of like a pole barn, if you will, there. That's going to be in Hardin County. That's a mile south of Vine Grove from the same National Weather Service employee we're good friends with. Measured 48-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts in eastern Anderson County, just outside of our viewing area south of Frankfort here. These storms still packing a punch as they move out of our area. And then Charlestown, Indiana, Charlestown Square. Numerous reports of damage from Charlestown to Hibernia to New Washington. We focused on that intently for some time, and that's indeed what has happened. Wind damage now in that area. What I want to do is kind of show you a broad scope of the reports that we've gotten so far, just to kind of impress upon you the the level of damage, just how widespread this has been. These are called LSRs, or local storm reports. You see the number of damage reports, from southwest Jefferson County, southern Jefferson County, down toward, of course, parts of northeastern Bullitt County. Wind damage reports all across Nelson and Meade and Hardin and into LaRue and Grayson counties as well. Citizen weather reports are a huge deal in this situation, and we have the power here at Wave News to show what's called MPing, M-P-I-N-G. There's an app for it, or if you're on RadarScope, you can make a report there as well. And this is able to show us what folks are seeing outside their window and just entering in just a quick damage report on their cell phone app from MPing. this is considerable. Look at this. We have uprooted trees down across southern parts of Hardin County, or not Hardin County, I should say Breckenridge County there. So you'll get the idea with that. It's not necessarily that a tree has been uprooted. There's a couple things that can be kind of lumped into that, but that's the level of damage, a 4 out of 5 level of at least tree or power line damage in southern Breckenridge County. And then we've had sort of that 3 out of 5 level of damage all through Jefferson County, likely some 4 out of 5s in a couple of parts as well. So that's kind of the damage that we're seeing at this point here from MPing. And as we go to the other types of reports as well, I do want to pay attention to flooding because there has been a whole lot of rain on a saturated ground. And you'll note that there's been at least one sort of like high stream or creek report in northeast Jefferson County, a little closer to the Oldham County line there that we'll continue to monitor at this time. But so far, it looks as if Louisville is kind of in the clear from this for now. This is the first round of storms while they push to our north and east. I'm going to grab the radar here and move it up to where areas are going to be that need to be on standby. Newcastle, this is hitting you right now. Be in your safe place. This is now going through your area. Campbellsburg, Bedford, and Trimble County. We're now seeing the heaviest of the winds now move through the highest wind speeds. If you're in Carroll County, you are also under the gun here shortly. Your severe thunderstorm warning continues. Frankfort is getting hit now. I'll put the winds up so we can see what the highest wind speeds are here as we kind of go round robin around the impact, or I should say the products that we have here. And there we go. So we can see that the winds are still pretty elevated moving into the Frankfort area. I will say that these are not quite as intense as they once were. We may start to see this weakening trend here, thank goodness, but too little too late on that, unfortunately, as we've seen so much damage across our area. If we can, I want to take the Wave Storm Tracker live now, and we'll be able to see what it is seeing as it continues to go across wave country here. If we have a location on that, that would be awesome too, so we can figure out where exactly it is. It looks like it's at the airport. I recognize that. That's the radar in the background there. So we're looking.
They are heading towards Shelbyville Road and Blankenbaker, where we got that report of all those trees down. Okay.
Yeah, no surprise there. We're going to go chasing some damage here, see what we've got. But you can see that there's no immediate damage that we can see there on that on-ramp onto 264. It's going to be heading east on 264, likely intercepting 64 and getting off at Blankenbaker there. Tawana and I know this route because we travel this route quite often. That's our neck of the woods, unfortunately. So be curious to see what we have when we get home today in terms of what's in our backyard. Let's query some of this wind information here that we have in northern Trimble County. This is Milton. Milton, you need to be in your tornado safe place. Treat this like a tornado because we have 64-mile-per-hour winds now moving into your neck of the woods. This is just crossing over the river from Saluda in southern Jefferson County, Indiana. 65-mile-per-hour winds there. Madison, also be in your tornado safe place. This is going to graze just past you and likely hit downtown Madison proper here. In fact, I'll zoom in on that a little bit because this burst of wind means business. This is about the same part of the storm that did all the damage in Charlestown, Indiana, near New Washington as well. This is going to be between Trout and Milton along 625 here, now getting the worst of this wind damage potential. Let's see. And back in Lawrenceburg, by the way, just got an update from there. I know this is just outside of our viewing area, but just to give you a sense of what these storms are still doing, structure fire caused by lightning, large branches blown out of mature oak trees down that way. Again, that's just east of our county, south of Frankfort there. But we are focusing now on northern parts of Trimble County and into southern Jefferson County, Indiana. So this is the Madison area, not Louisville, that we are tracking into here. 421, the Madison-Milton Bridge. Man, this is not good when you get winds crossing a bridge like that with folks trying to get, sort of up and down, from Madison to Milton on a Sunday afternoon. Maybe they're coming home from church here, and this is going to be rough for those folks there. In fact, we'll query some of these pixels here and show you what the winds inside the thunderstorm are doing. Again, this is not necessarily what you would see at ground level. 67-mile-per-hour wind speed near 625. These winds are now hitting Milton proper right this second. 72-mile-per-hour wind speed. Again, that's a couple thousand feet up in the storm there, but it's enough that could get channeled down to the surface, cause some 65, 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts that are going to take out power lines. And of course, trees. We're going to have the potential for shingles to get blown off of homes. You're going to get some minor structural damage with this, sort of superficial, kind of on the outside of the structure, like roof and siding and things like that here with these winds moving through. Madison, this is too close for comfort. Be in your tornado safe place right now. Treat this as if a tornado is moving in, like a weak EF0 tornado that can still do a lot of damage and cause, of course, injury. We don't want that to happen today. So this is getting ready to cross the Ohio River between Milton and Madison. Milton, you are no stranger to severe weather. I get that the anxiety is probably high there right now with this moving through. Again, this is not a tornado, but straight line 70+ miles per hour winds are possible, at least 60+ miles per hour, probably making it down to the ground at this point, given some of the ground truth that we have seen with these storms over the last little bit here. I do want to reset here. We do want to take some time to reset. If you're just joining us here, we are interrupting programming because of widespread destructive wind damage that has moved through Louisville, parts of southern Indiana, parts of Kentucky. And look at this, just off the presses, a severe thunderstorm warning for the Indianapolis 500. And of course, they have been delayed today because of the severe weather potential. Good call there. Lightning moving in, damaging winds moving in up there. The worst of the storms have likely been across our Kentucky and Tennessee border areas today. These that have marched just south of Bowling Green and now heading over toward the I-75 corridor near Jellicoe Mountain down that way, southeast Kentucky, northeast Tennessee there. Thankfully, that has protected us from some of the worst of the potential, but too little too late. We have seen a lot of damage, a lot of power outages here in the Louisville metro area. You'll notice to the south and west, a little closer to, I'd say Madisonville, Kentucky, down a little closer to, of course, up just north and west of, say, Perry County, Tennessee there. That's where we're seeing the potential for more of these storms to move in with, a lot of lightning, but not so much severe weather. Notice there's no severe thunderstorm warnings with those storms at this point. Some of those storms are going to hit here in the metro area, most likely the northern edge. But with what just moved through, it's going to be really tough for these storms to amp up enough to cause more severe weather. But it's not impossible. Just because of this triangularly shaped break right here, the atmosphere may be able to recover just enough to cause some problems. If not severe weather, then flooding. Flooding is going to be a big risk that we have today, and that causes us a lot of concern. Turn around, don't drown. Severe thunderstorm warnings number up to 3 in our viewing area right now. Once those are allowed to expire or get canceled early, we will jump off the air and prepare for the next round a little later this evening and jump back on the air at any point during the afternoon here if we need to, with that next round of storms moving through a little prematurely here before probably 2-3 o'clock. Tornado watch continues for areas along and south of I-64 through 4 p.m. We may see another watch issued at some point today. Much calmer weather, of course, in Simpsonville right now. I want to bring back up the power outage map because it continues to show some impressive numbers from across our counties, now showing 31,000 customers without power in the Louisville metro area. That's about 8% of Louisville. These numbers may be a little bit behind LG&E's map. So if you kind of look at the county view map on LG&E's website, it may show a bit more than this, but this is just kind of a good broad overview county by county that we have in our system here. 14,320 customers, not people, but customers. Multiply that by 2 or 2.5, and that gives you customers, the actual people, excuse me. That's over a third of Bullitt County without power. That is substantial. We go down to Hardin County at this time, 11% without power. That's almost 6,300 customers without power. And then a little closer to, say, Meade County and Brandenburg, 12% of folks, about 2,000. Look, live data, 13% now without power. 2,000 plus customers without power down that way. Since we have the new numbers in, since that just updated, Louisville should update too. Still around 30, almost over 34,000 folks without power down that way. So that is what we see on the radar, or I should say on the power outages. For now, we will get back to the radar here and jump off here in pretty short order once things get a little bit less crazy for some of our counties here, and especially the counties that are getting ready to get impacted just north and east of Louisville. We're getting ready to get to the very end of this for now, thankfully. I'm going to zoom in on areas that are next in line to see some of this. New severe thunderstorms coming out, severe thunderstorm warnings, I should say, coming out for just east of our counties now. Again, Louisville, we are done with this for now. Of course, there's another line of storms moving in here within the next hour or two. Those probably won't be severe given what we've just seen, but we have to monitor those. And then the final round, which could be the most severe, depending on how the atmosphere recovers behind these storms, would be later tonight after 8 or 10 o'clock or so. Campbellsburg's getting hit right now. Kentucky River, a little closer to Monterey, Kentucky, also getting affected by this. Tawana has the US 127 camera up in Frankfurt. What does that look like right now?
So right now, seeing a bunch of heavy rain, a lot of traffic in this area, and traffic is going to be a big issue for some people. I'm trying to get some of the cameras up on 75 71 near Oldham County, Jefferson County line, but is having a really big issue with that. So there may be some potential power outages in that area. But according to the Oldham County Emergency Management, about 4,000 people in Oldham County right now, the majority in Buckner and Goshen without power. And a semi is blocking the 11-mile marker southbound, and that is going to be on 71. So for those of you trying to travel on 71 heading in the southbound direction, that is where we have a semi blocking that, partially blocking that roadway as of right now. So getting reports of some semis potentially impacted by the strong winds that we had moved through, and also trying to get a little bit more information. And thank you to everyone who's been sending this in so far today. We've been getting reports of several other areas with issues in terms of travel, getting reports even lightning striking a tree in Radcliffe. Thankfully, no major issues there. Also, 22, for those of you traveling near the Jefferson County line, Crestwood is blocked by trees per viewer. So I'm going to be dealing with a lot of that. Thankfully, not looking as bad as it did just a little while ago in Frankfort with the strong winds moving through there. But seeing, once again, Crestwood, for those of you traveling in that area, 22, there's trees blocking that roadway. 71, for those of you heading back past the 11-mile marker southbound, we have a semi that is causing some issues there, and seeing some serious slowdowns in many portions of our area, especially on those side streets. I've been looking at some of the cameras there, Ryan, and seeing a lot of trees down on roadways as well. So travel slowly, especially those blind curves, you know, those parts of our region. Take it slow, because there may be a tree down that you may come up on very, very quickly. Right.
And, you know, we've also had some damage reports in from the National Weather Service here. Just getting this in from Clark County Emergency Management there. A tree on houses. This is the 1200 block of New Street and Lindsay Street with an E in Charlestown. So New Street and Lindsay Street in Charlestown. No injuries reported from that, thankfully, but trees down on houses. This is why we told you to get in your tornado safe place, because structures are being affected by trees and power lines coming down. There's some, you know, minor structural damage that's happening sort of superficially. We're talking like roofs, we're talking like siding happening there. So this is not the time to be out gawking at these storms. This is the time to be in your safe place. If you're in Carrollton, if you're in Madison, if you're right along the Kentucky River there in eastern Henry County at this time, you need to be in your safe place. Louisville, we're fine. It's just raining here. The worst of the storms has passed for now. Of course, that does not preclude having the other storms moving through later today with more warnings, which is possible. This might be a very long day for us, unfortunately, but we're going to be here. We're going to get you through it. All right. So that's what we're seeing right now with these storms moving through the Madison area, Carrollton, near Campbellsburg. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so that we can see what we are looking at in terms of wind speeds here, now moving into sort of the extreme northeastern part of our counties. Again, once this is done, the severe thunderstorm warning part of this, we will be able to go back to regular programming. We're getting awfully close to that point here, and we will monitor, of course, the damage reports coming in and have the latest for you as needed today. So let's get the wind speeds here on the map. There we go. Velocity meaning wind speed here, and boom, just like that, you can see the worst of the winds now, probably 70 plus miles per hour embedded within the storm, but maybe not making it all the way to the ground, but close to it. Just now north and east of Madison. We told you Madison earlier to be in your safe place. We'll see what kind of damage reports come out of there. Near Campbellsburg, east of Bedford, Kentucky, also seeing some of these stronger winds. Not quite as intense as we once saw, thankfully. I think some of these storms are starting to run out of steam somewhat. Again, we had a 48 mile per hour wind gust in Anderson County, even though that's not in our viewing area. That tells us that there's at least, some strong winds, but nothing that's super crazy. We were just showing you the Frankfurt US 127 camera there, and, weren't seeing anything too crazy. A lot of this is probably just environmental wind. That's why this looks so crazy the way it is right here. This is just kind of the wind speeds way up in the atmosphere, thousands of feet above, because we're so far from the radar site in West Point, Kentucky now. So this may look scary here, that wind that you see, but that is really not the focus. The focus is going to be on these storms now moving in toward the Carrollton area and just northeast of Madison, Canaan, Indiana. You guys need to be in your safe place as this moves a little closer to Switzerland County near Vevey, Indiana. Also be in your safe place as well. Again, once these storms kind of track just outside of our counties here of Jefferson and Carroll, Jefferson County, Indiana, I should say, and Carroll County, Kentucky, then we'll be able to kind of wrap this up here. I do want to take the Wave Storm Tracker live here. I know exactly where it is because my mom used to work in the Flash Cube building back in the early 2000s here. And this is what we're seeing on Shelbyville Shelbyville Road. The PF Chang's there is on your right. We're looking for any sort of power line or tree damage as it drives along here. This is getting close to the intersection with Hurstbourne Parkway. My stomping grounds here. Looks like I'm seeing small tree debris in the center turning lane there. Yeah, definitely some small tree debris like leaves, small twigs that they're driving over right now. Again, this is kind of in the aftermath of these storms, trying to see how bad the damage is. Looks like, is that traffic light working? It looks like it is. That's a red light, so a solid red there. They do have power at the speedway on the right. And it looks like things are pretty calm, but it definitely does look like they had at least some 40, 50 mile per hour winds with just kind of that small tree debris there sitting on Shelbyville Road as they get ready to cross a little bit closer into the Plainview and Middletown area. They're going to go by like Willowwood. They're going to go by Douglas Hills, getting a little closer to Blankenbaker Parkway here coming up in just a few minutes. So that is what we're seeing from the Wave Storm Tracker. I want to get you back to the radar here and share with you that if you're in northeastern Jefferson County, Indiana, you are under the gun right now. You are seeing, of course, the heaviest of the winds moving through. I want to query some of these to show you just how intense these winds could be if they make it down to the surface from the thunderstorm aloft here. There we go. This is just north and east of Madison, 63 miles per hour there. Seeing some damage photos from the Campbellsville area. It looks like some tree branches down, potentially a tree on a small house there, it looks like. Again, that's Campbellsville, Kentucky, down in Taylor County. Got some damage coming in from down that way. 64 mile per hour wind speed north and east of Madison. This is not as intense as it once was. Hello, Canaan, Indiana. The winds that are now moving into your neck of the woods could be up to 65 miles per hour, at least on radar. That's what's a few thousand feet above you. That could get channeled down into your neck of the woods up there. This is northeastern Jefferson County, Indiana. Carrollton, you guys have some pretty strong winds moving into that way as well. If we query them, you'll see 56 miles per hour. That's sub-severe, but just barely so. Still could pick up some light damage in the Carrollton area with that. Nothing as bad as what we've seen here in Louisville. Speaking of Louisville, I have had a question. I just saw go by my phone here on social media about MPing. We were showing you all of these wind reports right here. And there they are on the screen. So these are all citizen wind reports that I'm showing here. And I mean, there's just, dozens of these. You can make these reports on the MPing app. So just go to your app store and type in MPING, and it's the Mesoscale Precipitation Identification Near Ground Project. But you get the idea. It is just a way for folks to make those reports to help us out. We can already see that we have had some, looks like 3 out of 5 level damage with some snapped power poles or tree limbs, depending on what exactly has gone on up there in parts of the Jefferson County, Indiana area near Madison up that way. So we know from these citizen reports via these apps, and if you're also on Radar Scope, if you're a weather nerd, you can make those reports there too, kind of the level of damage. And you see these red reports here. These are like trees uprooted. These are significant damage reports. In fact, I'll zoom in on a few of these here so you get an idea of what has transpired. And we'll zoom right in. Boom. And there you'll see pretty substantial wind damage in northern parts of Washington County, just north of Taylorsville as well. And of course, a little closer to like, that's near Eckerty, Kentucky up that way. So we will continue to monitor that. I do want to take the Wave Storm Tracker live again. It is now on Shelbyville Road, really close to, up there close to the Moser Road. That's the BP right there on Moser. This is kind of the immediate area. We're getting near Dorsey, just past Dorsey, really, where we did have the reports of trees down and a lot of problems. But thankfully, Tawana, it doesn't look like we're seeing much. Yeah, we continue to keep an eye on it. So as you get closer to Blankenbaker, that's when we're probably going to start to see more of those trees down. If you know the area, that entire side, the Shelbyville Road in that area is where we have plenty of trees. So those are most likely the ones that are down. If you can pull up what we got on X, that picture that just came in of the tree that is down on Algonquin Parkway right now. Some tree limbs coming down right now along Eastern Parkway, but that is a massive tree now blocking Algonquin Parkway. So if you're traveling in that area, plenty of you are sending in pictures like these. So parts of Eastern Parkway, the Highlands, Germantown, quite a few massive trees that are down in those areas. Also getting reports, thank you for everyone who's sending this in, of the trees down in the Radcliffe area. For those of you in that area, make sure you're being extra careful as you're traveling. Some trees impacting 430
34 near E-Town, where the power is also out as well. And we even got some pictures from Natalia Martinez from the Highview Okolona area. And this one is a pretty interesting one when we can get that up, because that is where it looks like the entire top part of that tree, once we get it up, just completely just snapped off. So here we go. We're getting up on the area where the trees are down on Shelbyville Road, and notice how everyone is now moving to the left. If you can take this live, this is what we're seeing right now. The storm tracker trying to head towards Blankenbaker Parkway. All of those massive trees currently down, blocking the roadway. So everyone has to go into the opposite direction lane to get past that area. So for those of you who know the area, this is right past the gas stations. You have, of course, Price Weber on your left. And these are some massive, very old trees,
that's
Ryan.
The entrance to Douglas Hills on the right. Wow. That's Charlestown Apartments there on the right. Highland Latin Schools on the left. Okay. This is substantial. This is US 60. This is Shelbyville Road moving toward Blankenbaker. This is fresh. This just happened. Emergency crews are not yet on the scene yet, trying to chop up these trees and get them out of the way. But this is right in front of the Charlestown Apartments of Douglas Hills. Folks, this is literally my neighborhood.
Mine
right
too.
Here.
So
holy cow!
It's going to be interesting getting home today, Ryan.
Yeah, this is it's tough to see.
But there's this, and then plus, if we now got Natalia's pictures up.
There we go.
So this is what I was talking about, where the top part of that tree completely just bent over in that area, and a number of tree branches down as well. So this is the story of what happens when 70-mile-per-hour winds move through your region. And now we can go back to the storm tracker, pull that back up. You can see how everyone is traveling in the center lane there, and usually what is the turning lane there to try to get around these trees. Traffic is backed up. It looks like there is quite a bit of power on still in most of these areas, so working to find out a little bit more on that. But yeah, traffic just stopped in the center lane, which should be the turning lane of Shelbyville Road, as we're trying to head from near Moser Road. If you know the area, from Moser Road down towards Blankenbaker Parkway. So heading a little bit closer to Southeast Christian Church. This is where all of that damage is. If they turn onto Blankenbaker Parkway and they head into the Plainview area, they're going to see more of those massive old trees down, including one right in front of my condo, apparently. So this is the situation in many locations.
See some emergency lights there. It looks like right on Shelbyville Road as we're getting closer to Blankenbaker. It looks like crews maybe just arriving. Boy, that's a tight squeeze to get around that tree branch there. Yeah, there's a LMPD or Middletown PD, can't tell which yet, has just arrived on the scene there to get folks into a single file line. That's going to take some time to clean up. This is a major thoroughfare. Yeah, it looks like Middletown PD there on the scene. On your left, I think that's Willowwood or Wildwood. I can never remember which is which. But that is that subdivision there, right at the intersection of Shelbyville Road and Blankenbaker. Looks like the damage does not extend to the power poles, which is
good.
Shocking.
But that power pole is leaning a lot more than I remember there, off towards the left.
Hard to say if it's the fisheye lens there, but that does look a little iffy. The lights, I should say, are working. The power seems to be on there,
which is good. So and if they're listening in the storm tracker, if you can make a right at Blankenbaker, if you can, and head towards Southeast, there's some more damage being reported in some of the neighborhoods in that area as well. So if we can get that as well, that would be great.
Okay, want to get you back to the radar here. We've been kind of surveying the damage with the wave storm tracker. It's getting ready to hang a right onto Blankenbaker Parkway there. I do want to give you an update for folks north and east of Louisville. We're getting ready to wrap up our coverage here very shortly because the storm threat, at least the severe storm threat, is now ending in our counties here. Of course, we do want to get to that damage real quick there before we go to back to regular programming. We'll try to wedge that in. But you'll notice that North Vernon still has some strong winds moving through. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue from Madison to Carrollton. They've just updated that severe thunderstorm warning for the Madison area. It takes out western Jefferson County, Indiana. If you're in New Liberty, Kentucky, those storms are now moving in. That is just east of our counties, though. Carrollton, you guys are getting ready to, get out of this as well. It looks like you're on the back side of this. I'll put the wind speeds on. Again, we are kind of right at the tail end of our coverage here because the Indy 500 is delayed here and they're under a severe thunderstorm warning in Indianapolis. You're really not missing anything here on NBC. So we're really not covering anything up too important at the moment here. That's why we're trying to serve you folks best to let you know what the damage has been from these storms and what you might encounter if you're trying to get out and about this afternoon. The wind speeds have really relaxed on these storms now moving into northeast Jefferson County. Indiana, and northeast Carroll County in Indiana at this time. So some good news for folks up that way along I-71 and 42, and of course on 421 going across the Madison-Milton Bridge into Madison proper. I'm going to show just a few more of these storm reports here, and then we'll start to wrap things up with the latest information that we have, some views from the storm tracker, and then we'll get you back to regular programming. You'll see that we have had one damage report there in New Washington from some of the actual storm reports. If I back this up, though, you'll be able to see what it's like in Louisville now, of course, with the rain still in the area for now. The severe thunderstorm warnings do continue for like the Frankfort area, for Carrollton, for Madison at this time. They're starting to trim those back, so we will see those get likely and or get canceled in parts of our counties here very soon. These are the wind damage reports from MPing. These refresh every about 5 minutes, so it's substantial. You know, these read 4 out of 5, you know, trees uprooted, power lines down, that sort of thing. That's pretty significant. And to see this many of those reports, basically from Oldham County to Louisville, down toward Spencer County, Taylor County, Hardin County, Meade, Breckenridge, and Grayson counties. That's a widespread wind damage event. We are just getting some information in from the National Weather Service regarding the tornado watch that's in effect. I'm going to zoom straight to that here. Thankfully, we can do that pretty quickly, I think, and we'll be able to show you where that is, the status of. It looks like these counties will start to get peeled off here shortly, but it looks like they have at least canceled several of these counties from the tornado watch. Tawana, you've got the latest on sort of storm chances here for the remainder of the day. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so we're keeping an eye on the rain moving out. So the main severe threat is now moving out. That first batch, going to keep an eye on some additional thunderstorms for those of you across Kentucky as we head throughout the next 2 to 3 hours, see if any of those can remain strong as they move through. But then once we get into later on this evening, especially as we approach that 9, 10 o'clock hour, this is when we can start to see some more of these strong storms pushing back into the region, bringing back that threat of damaging winds, the potential for hail, and even some more of those isolated tornadoes like what we saw further to the west. So that's the next batch of storms trying to move in. Don't forget, we also have the flood watch in place across the region that goes until 8 a.m. tomorrow, because combined with what we're already seeing coming down right now and what we could see later on today, some parts of wave country could see 1 to 3 inches of rainfall just today, and that could cause some flooding issues if you're not seeing it already. We've seen some reports of some creeks starting to rise. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of those, especially with the more of the storms moving in later on tonight. And just breaking down once again that severe threat across our area, everybody still underneath that enhanced risk of severe weather for the entire region. Now, while the strongest storms are now moving out, that we were dealing with earlier today, still have to watch the next batch for later on this evening. So, Ryan, we just want to make sure that no one's letting down their guard just because we've already seen these strong storms move through. There's potential for more on the way.
Yeah, we just got our alert here from the city of Hurstbourne that they have trees down as well. Sort of those apartments like near the Hurstbourne Grand there got some trees down. We just drove by that with the wave storm tracker. I do want to give you a heads up. There is a severe thunderstorm warning northwest of Nashville, and you can see that those storms are starting to amp up down in Tennessee. I think a lot of the severe weather is going to stay just south of us with that round because we have been so worked over in the atmosphere today. So we'll continue to monitor, of course, those storms as they move into our southern counties. Again, I don't think there's a huge threat of severe weather with those, but it is something to monitor here. I also want to get back to the wave storm tracker here, and it looks like it's driving through parts of the Plainview area. It looks like possibly that is water. Is that Moser?
That's Moser.
That's
yes.
Moser. Yes, that's Moser Road there. You've got the estates of Douglas Hills on the right. You've got Plainview there on the left. We're looking for, tree damage, power line damage as we drive on Moser Road here. There's Chapel of the Woods from Southeast Christian Church on the right there. We should start to encounter some wind damage at some point here on this drive. This is going to be the final thing we do here, by the way, because these severe thunderstorm warnings are being trimmed back to be without our counties involved in them, and the wind threat has ended across wave country here. But I do want to stay with this for the next couple of moments here just to see if we happen to see anything, because we're getting real close here with the estates of Douglas Hills on the right. Yet you can see some small tree limbs are down, a little bit of tree debris here. or it's the Enclave at Douglas Hills. I always get those confused too. This is my neighborhood. I should know this. But you get the idea that we're on Moser Road here. This is the Enclave at Douglas Hills. Hello. And it looks like the power lines are okay. That's good news.
That's some good news there.
Yep. And the trees, they look to be at least upright, but, just small limbs and leaves down there on Moser Road. This is going to intersect Shelbyville Road here in just a short moment. And that's where those trees were down on Shelbyville Road, right in front of the Charlestown, Douglas Hills apartments there. That power pole is leaning a little bit, but that may be normal. Can't remember if that one does that or not. But just the little small pieces of trees. Looks like yard signs are still in the ground. I've got some little leaves on the right there. Now we're approaching an intersection with Douglas Hills proper, kind of the old section. And as we go through, it looks like on the left, there's
some
tree
large branches down.
Yep. So
when they roll up on the stop sign, I know they're listening to us. When you roll up to the stop sign, make a left. And that is where we should start to see a little bit more of that damage in that particular neighborhood based on some of the photos that I've seen coming in.
Yeah, so that would be left on Finchley if memory serves here, coming up at the stop sign here. You can see large branches down on the right in that yard. No surprise there with this level of wind damage that has occurred. Again, this is Douglas Hills and Plainview. This is literally the line between the two. We'll take a left here. This is kind of the line between the 40243 and 40299 zip codes here, northern J-Town, very western edge of Middletown, and the Douglas Hills area that we're in right now. I believe we're on Finchley Road. We're a little closer to Blue Ridge Manor. If you were to take a right here, this would be basically Blue Ridge Manor coming up. But we're going to keep going straight here, and we'll likely encounter some bigger trees down a little closer to Timberwood Circle here in pretty short order as we stop at the stop sign, because that's what we do here at Wave News. We follow traffic laws, and we continue to monitor for some bigger tree damage around here. And this is just kind of us looking for some of the worst of the damage in our area, trying to figure out kind of the level of things as this continues to move through. I'm going to leave this view for just a second, get you back to the radar for 1 minute. We'll return to it, and then we'll get off the air. We're going to jump off here in just pretty short order. Just want to make sure that you guys have the best information you need to get you through your day here with this alert day. Again, this is kind of round number 1 of thunderstorms, as Tawana explained earlier. Round number 2 is going to come through tonight, but there's kind of a sneaky round number 1.5 that's now moving into the Bowling Green area. We'll watch that for any sort of strong to severe storm potential that it may have as well. We'll continue to monitor for that, of course, as we go through the next several minutes. Let's go back to the storm tracker here. It looks like we're approaching Timberwood Circle there in Plainview, and that's where we're seeing at least some limbs down. We saw on the left just a moment ago. I was able to see it, but you weren't. But Timberwood Circle here coming up right on the Plainview, sort of the community center with the pool, the tennis courts there on Timberwood Circle. This is kind of like halfway to the Plainview Kroger here.
And the trees are down, supposed to be on the right. So as we make that right, that's where we should start to see a little bit more of the damage heading in that direction. So apparently some large limbs down as well in the neighborhood, and you can see that there on the right-hand side there. So be watching that. And these are some pretty old trees. Yeah. So the fact that they're impacted like this says a lot. Thankfully, that tree did not impact that vehicle. I know the owner of that vehicle, so I'm glad they are okay with that. But pulling up on the stop sign right here, a little bit more difficult to see if there are some more of those trees down. There should be some damage coming up in this particular area as well. So here we go. So yeah, some more of those large tree limbs down right there in front of that set of condos there. So thankfully it looks like they got things out of the roadway, which is certainly some good news there. But this all came with those storms that moved through the metro. It looks like they got everything out of the road, which is good. But that was in the middle of the roadway earlier as I got photos. So that's what a lot of you are dealing with this afternoon, as we're still seeing the storms moving out. But as Ryan mentioned, this is just the first batch of everything that we're going to see from here.
Okay, we've given you a tour of the damage. We've walked you through the severe thunderstorms with widespread wind damage that have moved through wave country here. We continue to monitor power outages. Over 34,000 customers in Louisville without power. You've got folks down in Hardin County with over 6,300 without power. Bullitt County at this time. gosh, 13,756. That's more than a third of Bullitt County, including Shepherdsville, Mount Washington, Hillview here without power at this time. These storms have packed a punch. They've had a lot of destructive force with them today. We will continue to monitor the next round of storms that's going to be moving through here. And you see them right now through Hardinsburg and Litchfield. Not a lot of lightning with these. No severe thunderstorm warnings at this time down that way. The wind damage potential, despite there still being some severe thunderstorm warnings for chunks of our counties, has now left the area. So we are going to return you to regular programming on NBC should severe weather happen again. Should we get a tornado warning or destructive winds like this with either this next round of storms that you see moving through southern Kentucky, which should be okay, or of course the storms a little later tonight, we will be on the air with you, walking you through it like we did today. For now, for meteorologist Tawana Andrew and myself, this is Wave News, and we'll be back as needed this afternoon.